What's up, everyone? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to talk about what's happening with the overall market. I'm going to break down SPY, Tesla, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers, and then give you guys a warning for tomorrow as we have some very important data coming out that will affect the markets. But before I break down all this information, before I talk about what my warning is, let me just mention a few things. I'm personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And then don't forget about the Webull link. The offer ends very soon in just 3 days. Deposit $500 and you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. Anyways, for the markets, right now we're seeing a lot of bullish momentum being built up for SPY, also for Tesla and many others out there. But I want to give you guys a warning about what's going to affect the market going into tomorrow. It's going to be the PCE data report. So, what is PCE? This is very similar to CPI. This is a major inflationary measure that the Fed uses and loves to accept this. And this is going to cause a very, very big move before the market opens tomorrow. So, this means that if you're holding anything overnight, any equities, if you're holding them, if you are, planning on trading, you have to be very careful and kind of can take this into consideration because the market's going to make a big move tomorrow. It's going to gap up or gap down most likely, and this is going to cause the market to likely break some resistance levels or even lose some support. So that's going to be very important. We're expecting PCE to be once again very close to what we saw from before, a slight decrease year over year for all items and also for core. So that's going to be very important. We're actually expecting quite a decrease. Does this mean inflation is going to disappear? Not necessarily. Does this mean prices will go down? Not necessarily. All inflation does is measures the rate of change of prices. So prices are continuing to go up basically, but the rate at which they're going up is what's kind of like decreasing. So that's what we're going to be looking out for. So what are we seeing at least in data? And this is why I kind of want to like break this down. When you look at the data, CPI has been decreasing for the last 3 reports, right? You guys can see it right over here. April had a nice decrease, and so did May. And when the May CPI report came out, everything was aligned with expectations, and the market pumped. You guys remember that? The market pumped. Everything was aligned with expectations the last time CPI came out. So when you look at the correlation between CPI and PCE, they tend to be almost the same. They tend to move very similarly. This makes me suspect that PCE is going to be decent tomorrow, but the question is, how decent? Can I predict the exact extent of what decent means? I can't promise anything. I don't know if it's going to be just like a little bit below expectations or much lower than expected. I can't predict that precisely, but I can tell you that it's going to most likely be a decent report, very close to what we got previously, if not below that. That means that we're going to most likely get a PC report that's very similar to the last report, if not below what we saw earlier, and that increases the odds of it being close to expectations. So that's how I'm kind of like leaning in this direction just by looking at these charts and looking at the previous data. I also want to consider the fact that we have a lot of puts expiring tomorrow. We have a 4.03 puts to call ratio for SPY, 1.85 million puts expiring, despite 450,000 calls expiring. So that's important because now the market makers are in a position where they're seeing all these put expirations expiring. They love to squeeze shorts like crazy some days. It's not always a guarantee, but it is a strong possibility. So I'll just keep that in the back of my mind. So what do I see for the charts? We're going to start off with Tesla, the one and only Tesla stock. When you look at this without our indicators, we look very bullish on Tesla. We have a nice accumulation structure. We're holding up very, very nicely, and we're continuing to pump so well. So this looks bullish to me. I think there's a good chance that Tesla will try to break towards the 200 area when you look at the 4 hour and how it's pumping. So Tesla looks very, very bullish for now from a technical standpoint. However, technicals are not sufficient. They're not everything. It also depends on PCE data, but just know that from technicals, it does suggest upside is more probable. For SPY, this is looking pretty nice, forming a nice accumulation. We've been stuck between 547 and 543. If we get a bad inflation report tomorrow, we're going to be losing 543 for a big rug pull. If we get a good one, we're going to be breaking past 547 to start pumping. Let me just call out that on the 30 minutes time frame, like this, if you look at the 30 minutes, zoom out like this, we actually have an inverse head and shoulders developing on SPY. So this would technically suggest upside is very possible, but I'm not going to promise that. I'm not going to guarantee it. It really depends on if we could get this nice break from this resistance. So it really depends. Can SPY break past 547? That's going to give us the signal that this is an inverse head and shoulders and it's going to play out. If we fail to do that and we lose 543, we're going to get a big rug pull. I am personally in the middle, at least when it comes to just the pattern alone. But looking at other factors like the amount of shorts there are does make me lean a little bit, teeny bit more in favor of bulls. And also because of the fact that CPI came in aligned with expectations. Excuse me, guys. The last time it came out, and then PC will likely do the same thing. So that does favor upside a bit more. But just to be safe, I'm not going to promise it. We have to wait and see what the data tells us just to be safe. So we will see. Um, Nvidia is just shuffling. We have basically this range very close to 125. We have support at 123. We have resistance around 125. We've been going back and forth and back and forth. So we're kind of stuck. If we want to break past 126, then yes, we could start pushing higher, but we haven't really been able to do that. So we're still within this range. So I'm going to give this a little bit more time. It's very indecisive right now, so it needs a bit more patience. Bitcoin is holding up. Now Bitcoin is starting to shift directions. So we had this big low being made around 58,000. We rebounded to the 200 EMA, rejected. Now we're trying to push higher. If we break past 62,500, then we could be starting to push higher again. So there could be a trend change on Bitcoin, not a guarantee, but it's a possibility. We will see if that ends up panning out. The QQQ is holding up decently. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure on the 3 minutes time frame as well. If we continue to break past 484, we'll be looking for a big pump. And if we end up rejecting and losing 480, I'll be looking at 479 and a big drop. Overall, this nice accumulation looks pretty good, and we're going to be likely to push even higher. For Aapl has a nice inverse head and shoulders like structure as well. We're going to try to break out. I think we could be pushing up towards this imbalance. I think we could continue to climb. So it looks bullish technically speaking, but we need to try to hold not only 213 but 211, hold above those, and then try to break past 215ish. Then we can start pushing higher. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. For Supermicro, in my personal opinion, is looking decent overall. We have this 900 resistance to be watching for. If we break that, we're going to go higher towards 920. If you reject here, we'll be coming back down to 862. So we're kind of in the middle, but we hit resistance at 900 for a nice bounce. And this could be a nice trend change because we had a nice head and shoulders trap, which is not really playing out. It's actually building strength instead. We have the IWM trying to break out as well. Now, could you argue that we have a head and shoulders and we're about to see a rug pull? A lot of these head and shoulders are traps these days, so be careful, guys. No guarantee it's going to play out. But if we get a rejection off 202 and we start dipping back down below 199, then yes, the head and shoulders will play out. We'll be dipping all the way down to 197. If we break out and we start pushing above 202.5, we're going to turn bullish and this thing is going to break out too. So I'll be watching to see if the head and shoulders is a trap on the IWM. AMD dipped quite a bit. Now it's trying to rebound towards that 160 resistance. We will see. We're in the middle. Do we get the rug pull back down to 156 or do we break out to the 160s? I'm just going to wait and see. Coinbase got a nice double bottom like structure. We're also filling the gap around 125. If we hold and close above our 50 EMA, we could be looking for 230 tomorrow. Once again, it depends on PC, but that is looking more probable. Amazon's holding up very nicely. It could retrace a little bit more towards 197, which is where we had previous resistance. But then we could bounce off of that, so it's still holding up very well. For Meta, we have a nice uptrend that's being established here. If we manage to break past 520, then we could start pushing even higher. It's looking pretty good here. It looks like it wants to go up to 522, riding its 20 EMA higher. So it's looking more bullish. Microsoft is looking in the middle. It is dipping a bit towards its 50 EMA, but it loves to bounce very close to this, if not a little bit lower. So I'm thinking that either it bounces here or maybe we retest our 20 EMA around 450. So that's going to be our 4-hour time frame. If it rejects here, if we end up losing 451.5, we could be coming down towards like 450 towards our 20 EMA, then bounce off that. So I'll be watching to see if that ends up being the case. And then for Google, we're on a very, very nice looking uptrend. We could be pushing higher towards 187.5. So we'll see if we continue to push. Google is building strength. It's actually stronger than what I was expecting. So pretty good from that. GameStop, if we break past 25.5, we're going to be looking for a nice push as well to the imbalance towards 30. And then for AMC, we're trying to push up higher towards 5 plus, and we'll see how things go from there. With that being said, guys, I want to thank you all so much for listening. Get ready for tomorrow. If you're holding anything overnight, this is your last warning to be careful because once again, we have a lot of data coming out. It's going to affect how the market ends up moving. So be patient. We'll see how things end up moving, and we'll wait for the PCE data report. That's going to have a big effect on this 1 hour before the market opens tomorrow. So I'll be back to talk about that soon. I'm also going to give you guys another update in about 3 hours from now. So I'll give you guys one more update for the day, and then I'll talk about PCE data. We have a very important day tomorrow, and we'll see how this affects the markets. If you're holding any positions overnight, be careful. Heed my warnings, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, and peace out.